Hello, you beautiful souls. Welcome to Harness the Shift podcast. This is a space where we explore personal transformation, conscious leadership, and the journeys of people who are doing the inner work and bringing that awareness into how they live, lead, and serve. I am your host, Jay. All right, let's see who's joining us today.
It was several years out of a narcissistic relationship. Anybody who's ever been in one, you you become so confused and your self-esteem is just in the trash. And then there's also the self-blame of like, how did I allow myself to get this? And even though we want to be compassionate and kind to ourselves, a lot of times that wasted time or that feeling that maybe, I don't know, we allowed it is really hard to overcome for a lot of people. So even if like they're out of therapy and they've done a lot of work, they still a lot of time can carry this shame. And so that was one of the things, because she had gone through therapy, but she wasn't like just talking about things over and over. She hadn't tried like EMDR or anything like that, but she had been through a lot of trauma therapy. But several years later, she was still feeling the shame, and like she didn't have the self-esteem that she used to after that. So we worked a lot on her confidence and feeling deserving and worthy, and those are the kinds of transformations that really.
Hello, you beautiful souls. Hello, you beautiful souls. Welcome to Harness the Shift podcast. My name is Jay, and I am your host. On today's episode, I am so excited to be talking with Andrea Hunt, an American who's living in Munich, Germany, and she is an EFT certified practitioner and transformational coach. She guides people to release limiting beliefs, process unresolved emotions, and step into clarity, confidence, and aligned action. If you're ready to explore how emotional freedom can change the way you show up in life, this is the conversation for you. All right, let's get into it.
That really.
Hello, you beautiful souls. Welcome to Harness the Shift. Today I'm joined by Andrea Hunt, all the way from Munich, Germany. Andrea does incredible work in energy and wellness, including EFT tapping, and I'm so excited to hear about your journey and what lights you up, Andrea, and how you are making a difference in the lives of the people that you serve. So, hello, Andrea.
Alles gut. Yeah, like Dankeschön. It's
I'm
nice. I
like,
love being
I
greeted in
love
German on a
Germany.
podcast.
I love Germany. And part of the reason that I think that I fell in love with the Pacific Northwest is because it reminds me a lot of Germany. So I'm so jelly that you're over there, and Munich is just absolutely stunning. That from what I remember, it's been a minute since I've been there, 97 to be exact. So, which is so crazy because it seems like yesterday. And so, how are things there in Munich?
Wonderful. We're finally getting sun here. It's like once it becomes spring in Munich, it's one of my favorite times of year because it's not hot, it's not cold, it's just in between. And it's the time of year where everybody just drops everything for the second there's sun. Like even if it's like it might be here for an hour or five, we don't know. So just run outside and go to the beer gardens.
Yeah, and get some get a brew and get some sun at the same time. Sounds perfect. Sounds perfect. So, Andrea, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so excited you're here. And so, share a little bit about your journey and how did you get to where you are now working and doing what you're doing? Because usually it happens because we experience it ourselves. So, tell me about your experience and what led you up to this point.
Let me see if I can try to summarize it. So I'm originally from Minnesota, from Rochester, Minnesota, and I didn't know what I wanted to do with myself. I just knew that at that time in my life, I wasn't going to find it in Rochester, Minnesota. I didn't have a very good high school. I felt kind of lost. And so I decided that I would save up money and I would go to learn Spanish. My grandmother was Mexican, so I would go and honor her by learning Spanish in Mexico. I would do volunteer work in London, and then I would go to China to study Chinese. And all three of those things happened, but it took a little bit longer. And of course, there were roundabout ways of doing things, as is my
Always.
my regular journey in life, right? So I moved to Mexico when I was 20. I saved up money like working at Rookies, which is a sports bar, and Applebee's when I was right out of high school. And so I had saved up a bunch of money and I left. I didn't have to work for 2 years. But instead of going right to China, I ended up going back to Mexico for my ex boyfriend. And then we moved together to Georgia, where I went to UGA, and my degree was in journalism. That relationship had a very messy, dramatic ending. And so when I was in South America, I ended up staying longer. And I suddenly did not know what I was going to do with my life. Like, I got back to Georgia and had like a total meltdown. Like, and I didn't have any money because I just got back from South America. And I was like, what am I going to do? Like, I have this gaping hole where I thought like I was going to work in Atlanta. I thought I was going to have, a life with this, with my partner and, family and all that stuff. And I felt like the rug got completely pulled out from under me. And luckily, funny story, I was in Bolivia, in La Paz, at a hostel eating at the pancake breakfast, as one does. And there was a girl who pretty much changed the trajectory of my life through one breakfast together, because she was traveling around South America. She saved up all this money teaching English, and she'd been working in South Korea. And I was like, well, that sounds interesting. I'm like, I've always been interested in Chinese culture. And so I was like, I wonder if I could do that there. I'm like, but I'm not a teacher. Like, I don't know if I could do this. And she's like, oh, that's okay. You just need a 4-year degree and your TEFL certification. And I was like, oh, but how does one do that? She's like, you just do it online in several weeks and you can, go find a job on Dave's ESL Cafe. By the way, this is still up and running, this website, if anybody needs to go,
Oh,
wants to go teach English abroad, Dave's ESL Cafe. So basically, I came back to.
and not to interrupt you, but I'm going to interrupt you because you were on that vibe about the TOEFL certification. There's remote jobs out there for it too.
Yes.
So yeah, it's definitely a good certification to get. I've actually thought about getting it myself too to just do some remote work.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's always helpful to have options. You know what I mean? Like, even if you don't use the option right away and maybe you never use it, it's always good to have options. And especially, I know a lot of people who are like, God, I would love to go work abroad, but I don't even know where to start. And like, how do you even do
Yeah.
that? Well, a lot of people get their TEFL certification. And if you have a 4-year degree, then you can go get a job. So I left. So I came back to Athens, Georgia, had a total meltdown, and I was like, I need to do something. Like, I can't stay here. Like, I just felt like everything had been completely shattered in my world, and I didn't have any the emotional tools at the time that I have now to be able to deal with myself. And so I had $1,000 in my bank account, and I got a job. And 2 weeks later, I was on a plane to China by myself without knowing anybody, and I got picked.
Man, that's amazing.
Yeah, and it's funny because I got picked up, like the schoolmaster, picked me up at the airport in Shanghai, drove me to where I was teaching, and it was like, okay, thank you. Somebody will be over to pick you up tomorrow to like, take you to go get a phone and show you around and stuff like that. And I remember thinking, like, so I didn't have any internet in my apartment, and I didn't have a phone, and I sat there on my bed and I cried, and I was like, oh my
Oh,
god, like, now you've done it, Andrea. Like, now this is it. Like, what are you trying to prove?
you did
But
it, girl.
it ended up being one of the most, life changing and positive decisions that I ever made for myself. Because I'm here as a result of that by a long run. But my plan was just to go for a year to China, and then around 2008, like, the Olympics was in Beijing. It was a fantastic time. There was lots of work for foreigners if you could speak some Chinese and speak whatever your language was. After the financial crisis, or sorry, during the financial crisis, my dad was like, you know what, Andrea, like, if you have work, and China's GDP at the time was like 9 to 12%. And he was like, I don't know what's going to happen in the US, and I don't know what's happening in Europe. It's probably better if you have work, just stay. And so that's what most foreigners did. Most of my friends in China were there for at least another 5 to 6 years, because there were job options. And so I ended up meeting my German ex and moving here. And so that's what I did, my master's degree. That didn't work out. Basically, I could talk a little bit about my healing journey, my growing journey, because those things are very interconnected, But the part about the coaching, like, after the breakup with my German ex, I really felt the need to kind of look at some patterns and look at some healing things that I needed to do, because I started noticing some certain things. And, the idea that anything could have been related to my childhood or inner child was like totally new to me. Like, the fact that,
Right, right,
I had no
right,
idea.
right. Like, it's so, when you start to do the work, you start to realize, like, that's such an impressionable time
Yes.
when we're children.
Yeah.
I think it's like 1 to 7 years old. We start to. That's where the programming, the conditioning, and all of that takes a hold. So
Exactly.
it's truly when you say kids are impressionable. It's so true. Yeah.
Well, because you realize that, like, if you don't learn what your attachment style is, especially, and how it makes you behave, how it makes you perceive things and feel things, and you know what you're attracting and what you're allowing to stay is one of the biggest things. Like they always say that somebody who has a good sense of self-worth, the first sign of somebody mistreating them or not treating them up to a standard that they deserve, they would just be like, nope, I'm not doing that. Whereas if you don't have that sense of self-worth, you're going to sit there trying to prove yourself to them, or be heard, be understood, instead of just being like, no, I don't want to be treated like that. So
Right.
I mean, that's kind of one of the harder things, is realizing your role in your own suffering and situations. And so through a lot of that work later on, I started getting a lot into, personal development. I did EFT just as something like for stress release, just because it is like an incredibly helpful tool. Like I was doing my master's program, couldn't control my, anxiety in it. So I was just like, all right, I'm willing to try anything. Found a Brad Yates EFT tapping video. And like 10 minutes later, I was just like, oh my God, I feel so relieved. And so I just kept doing it for everything, like before job interviews, after an argument with, my partner, whatever. And so fast forward, I during the pandemic I got laid off like a lot of people did, and we were in lockdown too. And so I was like, wow, I can't leave the house and I just lost my job. Like, what am I supposed to do? And I started really thinking about it. At first, of course, it was awful. I mean, like that uncertainty during the pandemic of being like, okay, who knows when they're going to open up again? Everything was, it's winter and you can't go out. And I was like, well, maybe I can see this as an opportunity of like, what now? What do I want to do with myself now? What have I been wanting to do that I wasn't able to? And I've always been very empathetic. I've always been, the person who listens to other people and wants to motivate people to like find the strength in themselves and stuff like that. And so I was like, you know what? Like I saw a coaching, like an ad for like, join our webinar or whatever. And I'm like, yes, this is the one. And it was online because everything was. So it was a school in the UK called Animas that I would never have been able to, go to London or something, pick up at that time. So it was amazing. And so then I got my EFT tapping certification at the time. So that relationship that I was in, the last one, did not work out, but I had the tools and the self-awareness to be like, okay, that was it. Like I recognized the patterns, and that's why I got out of it. But so like good for me, but like that was awful. Like that was terrible.
Yeah.
And so like all these wounds and stuff. And so I basically found some women that were in a EFT tapping group. I'm like, hey guys, I just got certified in EFT. I have no idea if this is gonna work, but I want to start a little support group for us. Like, is anybody going through a breakup or divorce that like would be willing to be like my guinea pig? I'm be my guinea pig for myself, and we can just be there and support each other. I'm like, I'm gonna film it and I might use it later for a course, so it's totally free. And yeah, I got 4 or 5 people, and it was just amazing because that sense of community and like being able to be there for each other, being able to tap and cry and be raw and angry and sad and vulnerable was just priceless. And so fast forwarding, that's what I want to help other people with. I've been doing coaching for the last 4 years, 5 years, 5 years, yeah, 2021. But I've kind of shifted it more into the heartbreak to healing, just because that's what I feel that I am really good at, is like, helping people to pick themselves up, because I know what it's like to feel like you've just had to, that
Got a gut punch. Boom. You know how it feels to get your gut punched. Yeah. It's like, whoa. Yeah, girl, I feel you on that one.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's basically what I've been putting together. So I mean, the community aspect will be done in April. Been kind of like slowly but surely putting things together. And for anybody who doesn't know, EFT tapping is a fantastic mind body tool. It's like a technique, and it uses acupuncture points that you tap on the face. I know it looks kind of funny. Like I also was like, I don't get it. But it sends signals to your brain to get you out of the fight, flight, or freeze response. So, like on a physical level, you're calming your body and your nervous system to become more grounded and in control, which is, of course, very important during a breakup because otherwise you're in like panic. And then the other aspect is in terms of like the belief wounds that we get from a breakup. Often, if we weren't necessarily, talk to very nicely. Like people can say things that they cut really deep, and we can come out of a breakup thinking, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not attractive, or whatever. And through EFT, we can switch those beliefs. It's called cognitive reframing to like go from, I don't feel good enough, that's why they left, to I am good enough, they left because of them and not because of me. And I am worthy and, deserving. And that's a process. It's not instant, but it's extremely powerful. And I don't know anything else because I've tried a lot of things. But anything else that I think is that powerful so quick with like little milestones.
Yeah, it's a fascinating therapy. So, what was one of your most memorable experiences that you had with someone that you helped with the EFT?
I had one lady. It was several years out of a narcissistic relationship. Anybody who's ever been in one, you become so confused and your self esteem is just in the trash. And then there's also the self blame of like, how did I allow myself to get this? And, even though we want to be compassionate and kind to ourselves, a lot of times that wasted time or that feeling that maybe, I don't know, we allowed it is really hard to overcome for a lot of people. So even if like they're out of therapy and they've done a lot of work, they still a lot of time can carry this shame. And so that was one of the things because she had gone through therapy, but she wasn't like just talking about things over and over. She hadn't tried like EMDR or anything like that, but she had been through a lot of trauma therapy. But several years later, she was still feeling the shame and like she didn't have the self esteem that she used to after that. So we worked a lot on her confidence and feeling deserving and worthy. And those are the kinds of transformations that really, because I've been there, I know how powerful it is to actually go through the world feeling like you got completely ripped up in a blender, and to be able to put yourself back together and have that feeling of like, okay, I'm going to be okay. I feel better. This is good. I'm able to do things. Okay, I can hold my head up high again. And that process is, I don't know, it's so valuable to be able to give that to somebody again. And so that's probably one of the one of the best transformations, I think.
Wow, that's amazing. I know, like, if I'm like processing emotion, like, I just instinctively, like, I'll tap myself
We
on
do.
my
Yeah.
chest or my arm on my stomach just to like,
We go like this.
yeah,
Or
I
sometimes
do
we'll
that
go
too.
like this.
Or I do a little bit of this. It does work. It does work to kind of bring it down and simmer it down a little bit because I think that it's important to process emotion, right? Because we got to get it out. When we hold it in, it's not good, so we got to get
Mhm.
it out. But that process of releasing can be, it depending on what it is, it can be a little intense. So that tapping that I just instinctively, it's amazing how I've known it kind of instinctively. I've never
Mhm.
really done or been instructed on EFT, but just instinctively knowing that to just tap myself there. It's a modality. I need to learn a little bit more about it. So thank you so much for sharing. So how do you stay grounded, inspired, and energized in your own life?
I mean, I do tapping every day for myself anyway, like I have
Yeah.
for, I don't know, 10 years or something like that. And I think that it's good whether I need to start the day grounded and the day grounded, recalibrate during the day when something unexpected happens, and just knowing that I have the ability to emotionally regulate because we don't have control over what's happening in the world sometimes,
No,
like
no.
there's things happening all the time, and not being swept away emotionally in every single little thing is really important. And so that's generally, I mean, like I regulate my emotions, but like the part I think that always motivates me is the aspect of being able to connect with people. And then also, I mean, like I told you, I love travel and culture, and I love people. And so
Yeah.
that's something for me that I always I like people and cultures, and I like being helpful, and
It sounds like you might be an empath. I mean, hello. Most folks that are the empath are the ones that want to serve humanity. So you mentioned earlier about narcissistic relationships. Why do you think that most, like, what's your perspective about that most empaths tend to get themselves into these types of relationships? And I think a lot of it is I'm in that on that spectrum of, I think we agree to have certain experiences in this human experience, and it's to get us to a point where we are um, able to be aware of others and to choose what's best for us. So just a little bit about that. What is your perspective on that?
well, I mean, I can only speak for myself. I'm not like a narcissist specialist or something like that.
Yeah,
I can
yeah,
only say that there are a couple quotes that I heard that I was like, yes, that's it. And it was like, sacrificing yourself in the name of empathy is not noble, it's self sabotage. And if you have empathy, but you don't have any boundaries, you're going to lose yourself and you're going to give yourself away. And that really, I remember when I don't know, it was maybe 5 years ago, to her, that I was like, yeah, that's it. Like, if you are always willing to empathize and see somebody's perspective, even when they're hurting you and excusing it and stuff like that, you're sacrificing yourself, and that's not noble, and that's not empathetic. It doesn't show that you're understanding. You're self-abandoning, basically.
yeah. And I think there's been a lot of that. I think we're getting back on track, which is great. But yeah, though, I mean, I know I'm guilty of it. Not that it's like, I think I wouldn't have learned the lessons that I have in my life had I not. So I'm
Hmm.
grateful for the circumstances, but at the same time, I do realize and I take accountability for it, because that's what it's really all about, is to understand that. I think there's misconception that it's like we can change people, we can fix people, and the only
Same thing.
person that we can fix is us. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
And the more that we fix and heal ourselves, like, we can have compassion for other people who are going through things without sacrificing ourselves for it, you know,
yes,
and still be a good person.
absolutely, absolutely. So, do you think there's any misconceptions about EFT, and that anything that you would think would be a misconception that you could clear up for us?
Sure. So I think, like, so now, I mean, in 2026, there are now hundreds of different studies that they've used EFT for PTSD, CPTSD, for trauma, for SA, for anxiety, for stress, for phobias, and different things. So it's now becoming much more accepted, like in a clinical space, than it was before. In the past, because it does come from the idea of acupuncture, and not everybody is on board with Eastern medicine, it was viewed for a long time as very woo woo,
Yeah,
And then now that there are a lot of psychologists and therapists that have started to use it, because they're like, okay, I don't know, without medicating somebody, how I can teach them to, manage their emotions or regulate. And so now it's becoming a lot more common. And so there's a couple people, for example, like Dr. Peter Stapleton. She's from Australia, and she works for the Australian Psychological Association, so like that. She's a very reputable therapist there. She's done a lot of studies and research to publish it. And it's funny, if you watch interviews, she was just like, when I saw it, I just thought it just looks so weird. How can that even be helpful? And
yeah.
she was telling the story where she was in like a conference, and there was a woman who was having like a panic attack, and the guy like took her into this room like 10 minutes, and she comes back, da da da, and she was like, what did you do? She's like, how is that
Yeah.
even possible? Like, I mean, this woman was totally, inconsolable. And he was like, oh, it's this funny looking technique, like, but it works with acupuncture points. And so now, like in the United States and in England, especially in Australia, there's lots of studies now, so people can go look it up themselves. But it's not woo woo, I mean, like, there is.
It's scientific based.
Exactly. I mean, just, you have a nervous system and you have energetic points in your body. Like, that's
Yeah,
a fact. And so, like, you mean, if you are wanting to try it, I would just recommend, don't discredit it before you try it. Like, I mean, there's tons of videos on YouTube. Anybody can go. Like, I always recommend, as a starting point, Brad Yates. He's amazing. He's an American guy. He's kind of just like a compassionate dad. He's like all knowing and like, you got, but he's got,
Yeah.
thousands of videos, and just try one, because it doesn't make sense to have it explained verbally when you can just go feel it for yourself and be like, oh, you know what? I do feel better. Okay.
Yeah, it's interesting how, over time things have come out, and there sometimes is a little bit of that pushback from the psychiatric society about
Hmm.
certain things. And so it's always a good benefit to do research so that you can put it in qualitative and quantitative forms so that you can actually have evidence to show that it is transformative. It's funny that we're talking about this because I actually went on board with a friend that I just met a couple weeks ago, and evidently I'm filling a piece that was missing, and we're going to be running a trial for his. It's called neuroconditioning.
Hmm.
It's a different kind of protocol, but it's around neuroconditioning, and so I'm going to be designing the trial, and I'm so excited about it. 23 years of clinical research experience, and so I get to use that, and I also get to dive into the coaching and consulting. So truly excited to be on board with Thane and with Cortina Jackson. It's Thane Martin and Cortina Jackson, and it's all about love, I believe, and it is such a cool concept, and it is an amazing thing when you can really just set up a trial and have that evidence to submit.
Hmm.
And it sounds like EFT has done that also with the EDMR
Hmm.
as well. They've done that too. So we're seeing a lot of things that are coming in that have been woo woo, which aren't woo woo because we're energetic beings having a human experience. And it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to see that there's other modalities coming in, that we're not putting everybody on things and medications that they
Hmm.
may not even need. And the whole purpose of all of that was not for people to be on those drugs for an extended period of time. And we do have folks that are on those drugs, and have been and are dependent on them. And so if we can mitigate that with something that shows that there's evidence that shows that this works, I think is all just so, it's cool because it's saying, okay, it's not woo woo. This stuff really works.
Hmm.
And they want to gaslight it as woo woo, meaning the powers that be that is woo woo, because, I mean, they're 23 years in clinical research. It's a billion-dollar business.
Yeah.
$150 billion for cancer. Like it generates that kind of money. Uh, so you're going to get a little bit of pushback, and we expect that. But I think when you bring the right team together, you can prove a lot of things. I'm excited about it. I really truly am. So yeah, thank you for bringing that up, because it does happen in the coaching world, in the consulting world, like, and this kind of work does work, right? Coaching is so different from therapy. So I think there's a place for both. And
Yeah, they can work alongside each other as
yeah,
well. Like,
absolutely.
I've had a lot of people who are like, I have therapists for this, and then, but I want to be able to work on this. Like, this is from my
Yeah.
past. I need to figure it out. But then I know these things about myself. How do I go forward? And that's where
Yeah.
a coach can be just have a slightly different methodology than a therapist, but still just as useful.
Yeah, I think I quoted it wrong. It's purelove.com. That's what it is. I was
Okay.
like, I got confused there for a second. So, what's a lesson or insight that you've learned recently that shifted your perspective with regard to the work that you do?
I guess I had only been doing one on one sessions. And when
Mm-hmm.
I was looking back, this was just a few months ago, because I was finishing my EFT tapping. Like I have a heartbreak to healing EFT tapping book, and I was thinking of how to reach more people. And I realized how important for me at the time that I was going through the breakup, having that little community. And it was only like 5 people, but I was like, what would I wish that I had had? Like, and I
Right.
would,
Yeah.
and now, like, I'm in these different, groups on Facebook that are for, and I was like, that's really so valuable if somebody's like, hey, you know what? I'm really not doing well today. Actually, today I feel like crap. I'm at my desk at work trying to act normal and I'm just dying inside, and people
Yeah.
forget it's like they don't talk enough about how you still have to go function as an adult in society, even though you're completely, breaking inside. And
Falling
so
apart.
I really wanted to create that community aspect where people are there to support and nurture each other as they're going through my program so that they can start at the beginning, which is like, where you're completely, your nervous system is hijacked. You can't eat, you can't sleep, and you're just like, I need help and I need relief and I don't know how to fix this or what to do. And that panic is very real. And so there's like, of course, different stages of healing. There's like the release part of like trying to ground yourself and then go forward, start to rebuild, your belief systems and your sense of worth. And then like, where do I want to go from here? So you can actually rise after that, whether it's, I don't know, rebuilding a life or just fortifying the one that you have, whatever it is that you need personally. But I think that's what I realized more is that I don't have to only do one to one. I would like to be able to help more people. And since I'm only one person, it makes sense to like one to more to many in the community to also help each other, support each other.
Yeah. I think the group coaching, I think a lot of folks are going to the group coaching because
Hmm.
you can be with, and you can also have a group coaching where you have individual sessions, but the group coaching, you get to hit more people, right? And that's the thing. And what I think what's amazing about the whole group coaching is that other people start to share their experiences. Number one, you realize, wow, I guess I'm not the only one.
Yeah, it's not just me.
It's not just me. Or wow, I guess I was struggling with processing that as well. So I guess, wow, this is awesome, I'm not the only one. Or they can learn from each other, right?
Hmm.
Like we're not expected to know everything. Just because we're out here trying to step in our purpose and our coaching doesn't mean that there's other coaches that can bring value to it, right? So even in the coaching world, to uh, co-collaborate, whether that's
Absolutely.
retreats or whatever. So like, I know I'm a facilitator, I'm a connector. I love people too, and I love connecting people and finding solutions, right? So if
Hmm.
someone's like, I need XYZ, and it's like, oh, well, hey, I know somebody.
Yeah.
But in the future, I would like to do nervous system retreats, right? So this is an opportunity for co-collaboration from a business standpoint because I don't know it all and I don't claim to know it all. So like, you know, the EFT would be amazing to do at like a retreat. There's
Absolutely.
always that and so and
Everything we're made of contains light. From the sun that feeds our world to the energy that flows within us. With LifeWave X39, we've found a way to put that light to work. With X39, we achieved something remarkable in the field of wellness and science that others could not. By utilizing LifeWave's unique patented technology, X39 uses light to elevate GHK-Cu, a copper peptide known to support overall health and wellness. Unlike traditional light therapy, X39 uses the body's own infrared light to naturally increase vitality. By gently stimulating the skin with light, our non-invasive, non-transdermal X39 patches help you conquer your active lifestyle and pave a new way to vibrant health. Becoming a powerhouse is easier than you think. It all starts with your body and a little help from light. Place one LifeWave X39 patch on the body. Apply the patch to clean, dry skin in the morning. Patches may be worn for up to 12 hours before discarding. Keep well hydrated while using this product. Harness your natural potential. Reclaim youthful energy. Live long, live well, live young. with LifeWave X39. Be the light. LifeWave.
And so, and you like to travel. You like to travel. So
I want to be all the
this is
place.
a, yeah. And so, and I do too. I traveled for a long time for work. When I worked in clinical research, but I do like to travel on my own time. Like I don't want to feel rushed. I want to immerse myself. Um, Over the last 6 years, traveling back and forth from the Pacific Northwest to Florida, and everywhere in between, and up into the Northeast, I realized that nature is such a healer. So that's part of the reason why I want to do the retreats, to bring people together, to have like these, I don't know what I would call it. Obviously it's a retreat, but just like this, to bring people together and be in this sense of community where they could share their knowledge, have folks that are just stepping into this journey that need to be supported. Um, and all of us in the same place. Can you imagine like
Mm,
what beautiful transformations can happen? So
absolutely.
that's where I'm like, that's what I want to see. So I'm planning, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, it's the group coaching is amazing. I think it also takes the stress off of the coach, I believe. You always have to have the answers, because we may not have the answers, right? So it's also um just a good opportunity for us to learn and for clients to learn. So
Hmm.
outside of your work, like you've shared with us, you love to travel. What are the things that bring you joy and help you reconnect with yourself when you feel a little disconnected? Because in
Hiking.
life,
Mhm.
we can get that place. Doesn't matter how
Absolutely.
much work you've done. Every now and again, there's a little bit of like, what the heck am I doing with my life?
For me, the mountains and water. So like if I'm by
Mm,
the beach, like that is my zen place. Like barefoot walking through the sand, like that is what calms me down and grounds me immediately. But here, I mean, like I live in a city, obviously, so like you can't go to the sea that quickly. But being in Munich, I am so grateful to be able to have the Alps like an hour away. So
yeah,
I do hiking retreats and things like that, or I'll just go with my friends for the day. And it's just amazing because it's impossible to feel stressed at the top of a mountain. You're just sitting there, you're
yeah,
like, all my problems are so small. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, it really puts things in perspective.
it sure
Um,
does.
I have, just groups of people that I go hiking with, but we always are like, if you're having a bad day, you have to go to the mountains. Like, because there's sometimes a tendency like, no, I want to stay in and sort it out. Grab your stuff, you're coming to the mountains. And then at the end, you're like, there we go. I feel
Yeah,
better, feel refreshed, and like your legs are sore, but in a good kind of way because you feel like you did something healthy, but also kind of challenging and rewarding at the top because then you can get a meal or get a beer or whatever with your friends. Yeah,
yeah,
nature. I've realized the older that I get how important nature is for calming my nervous system and yeah, water. Also, going to a lake or something like that and just being able to sit there and like not do anything.
yeah. Just take it all in. Well, because I think the spirit, the spirit, a lot of people get weirded out by that word, the spirit, God, the creator, whatever that looks like for you. Like I believe when you can get out of the city, I live near the city myself too, but when you can get out of the city, you just hear things, you see things, you might see synchronicities. I've experienced that our creator gives us signs, and if we're not present, we may miss those signs. So I always talk
Absolutely.
about being mindful, right? Mindfulness is such an important tool in nervous system regulation.
Absolutely.
So, looking forward, we don't want to get too much in the future, but we have to plan a little bit sometimes about where we're going to go with our businesses and things like that. So, looking forward, what are you most excited about creating or exploring next?
So this community and also being able to do retreats
Yeah.
for people who are in the different stages, whether it's like they want to get away and go travel and just like sit by the beach with some other women and talk and cry and feel or whatever during the first stage, or if they're like, starting to feel empowered and bold again, and maybe they want to, be with some other people just on a working vacation, something like that, where you just rent a villa and all do things and have different activities and stuff like that. That's what would be my absolute ideal. And then be able to go all over Europe doing these things.
Yeah, that would be amazing because you're right. You're right there. Like Germany is so centered. You can go anywhere. You go to
Exactly.
Spain.
Right.
I love Spain. Spain has got some beautiful
Who
places,
doesn't?
right? France is beautiful. You've got Italy. Oh my goodness, that's beautiful. How amazing would a an Alps retreat be?
Absolutely. I've already been looking into this. Like, I'm thinking for
Yeah,
either early summer or fall. It depends because, like, I would love to do, just like renting like kind of a big cabin or something. They have these kind of, they're called these like holiday houses in Bavaria where it's like just like a
yeah,
big
yeah.
Bavarian house, but they have like a little spa in there and stuff like that. And it's real nice. And so you can just have breakfast there. You're right by the trails. So you can just go hiking. You don't need a car or anything like that. You just kind of, you're right there at the foot of the mountains. And so I was like, that would be just a wonderful idea for a little retreat just for like a weekend. So people don't have to
Yeah.
like to do a huge thing. They can just take the train and get there. And so I want to start with those because that's what I would really love to do is give people a chance to kind of get away, connect with other people. Because especially, I've done so many workshops and things over the years, and I loved the people that I met at these workshops. It was just, sometimes you can really connect with somebody over just the course of a weekend, because you're there for the same reason. And not everybody's into personal growth. So I have friends that are into it, I have friends that are not. So, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
oh
Me
god,
too.
and not everybody is on board with coaching and EFT tapping. Some of my friends are engineers and they think EFT is just looks weird. So whatever.
Yeah.
It seems like tech
It's
people,
about openness. Yeah.
yeah,
I hear ya. It truly is about openness. And look, no is not no. No means no for now, but it doesn't mean no for later.
exactly.
Who and when do we know when later is, right?
But I have like it's interesting because I've had certain situations where my friends were really really going through something and their nervous system was completely jacked up. They couldn't sleep. They couldn't eat. They were
Mm.
completely frazzled mess. And I was like, please let me give you a session. Like, please. I'm like, it'll take an hour. I'm like, I swear to God, I know that I can make you feel better. Like, this is my only superpower. And then an hour later, they're like, oh my God, thank you. And I'm like, see, this is what I do.
Hello. I've been trying to tell you, right? I've been trying to tell you. Let me help you.
Like, I
Let
want to help you.
me
I'm
help
offering
you.
to help you. I can do this. This is my superpower. I might not have a lot of them, but this is one of them that like I know I can help you.
Yeah.
And when they try it, then they feel better. So
And we do have these superpowers, don't we? And it's an amazing thing to acknowledge that, like that we do. When you start to dial in, you start to do the work, you're given these amazing gifts to comprehend what it is so that you can do it. And it's an amazing thing. So what's happening there in Germany? Like, is there anything coming up that is fun? Like, what are the big things to do?
in the spring, people are usually at the beer gardens or it's biking picnic time. and barbecue. Everybody, because everybody rides their bikes here. I mean, like, yes, people
Right.
could have cars, but people love biking. I mean, I love biking. Plus, it's a good way to stay in shape. And so people will usually in Munich. There's the Isar River that goes through the center of the city. So people will put wine or beer and like sandwiches, and pasta salad, and chips and whatever, and then you bike along the river, and you find a good spot, and you just hang out there. Easy peasy. And people will
So
just come on
cool.
their bikes, and you just sit there, and it's very simple, and you get to sit in the sun. Like, I really appreciate how much people love the sun here because it's not always around.
Yeah, yeah. And we don't get a lot of sun here in the Pacific Northwest. However, I will say this winter has been interesting because there's been more sun than ever
Really?
that
Oh,
I've
that's
seen.
good.
Last winter was brutal. Like there was zero sun.
Yeah.
But we get sun where sometimes it's like overcast,
Hmm.
but we've had some days where it's just been sun and it's like, oh gosh, I got to get out and I got to get some
Yeah.
sun. I did that yesterday actually. And you mentioned the mountain. I went up to Mount Hood and
Mm,
drove up there and took my Archie Lou is my little four-legged kid, and we went up there and he was like it had been raining up there, so he loves after the rains because he can smell
I'll smell it.
all the trees. And so we went up there for a little bit and then came down off the mountain and it was sunny and got a little sun. It was nice. It's nice to get sun. The sun is our life force and we definitely need it in moderation. It's all
Totally.
about moderation.
Absolutely. No need to fry ourselves, but
Yeah, right. Like I think I've never been a worshiper, like people that lay out in the sun like all day
no, I
and
can't. I would
I can't.
I would be a lobster if I did that. I know.
Yeah, I can't do that.
I pay extra for a sun
Yeah,
a bed and an umbrella. I mean, but I realized also, like, I don't know, a lot of things part of like getting older, like, realize I need sun in the wintertime. So now I go to Spain in January because it just helps winter along to be able to like have a bit of Spain, and then I can come back and I'm
yeah.
like, okay, now it's almost spring. We're in March and it's coming right around the corner.
So question, where have you been in Spain and what do you like about Spain?
I've been all over, but usually I meet up with my mom. My mom lives in Minnesota, so it's easier for us to meet there, like, than
Mm-hmm.
me go to Minnesota in January. No
Yeah, no
thanks.
thanks.
So yeah, no.
No thank you. Yeah, no.
But Spain, I mean, like, usually I love Andalusia, and then Gran
Mm,
Canaria, like the Gran Canary biggest island, is one of the warmest ones in the winter because it's closer to Africa, and so it's
mm-hmm.
it's like mid 60s up to 70. It's just wonderful. But Andalusia is just magical. I just love it. And I love Spain because the language, the people, it's just very relaxed.
Yeah.
Food, I mean,
The
just,
food is amazing that I can remember. I'm
and I
sure
love
it's even
seafood.
better now. It's like the food. It was wild. I mean, I know I'm shifting gears, but last time I was abroad was in May of 18, and I went to Italy. So
Nice.
we flew into Roma, and then we went to Florence and stayed in Florence for a while, a couple days, and then came back to Rome. And then after Rome, we went back down or not back down, but we went down to the Amalfi Coast. And
Nice.
I was there for 2 weeks and I lost 15.
Hmm. It's just the walking. It's like the food,
Yeah.
usually eating pasta and pizza and like
Uh huh.
drinking wine and like, but it's the walking. You notice it. I hear that from
Yeah.
all of my friends. They're like, I got 20,000 steps every day and I lost like 15, 20 pounds in like a month.
Yeah.
Not on purpose even, like, they were like, I was eating the gelato, I was eating the spaghetti, and
Right. But it's fresh. All the food is super fresh and it's not I wouldn't say that it's not that they don't have processed food. They do, but it's different. It just
Mhm.
yeah, it's pretty amazing the food. I've been to Spain, but it's been a minute since I've been to Spain. Last time I was in Spain was gosh, 97. So
Hmm.
it's been a minute. Spain's food is absolutely delicious.
It is.
The seafood. We used to fly into. I'm trying to look here on the map. It's like right by. It's
Barcelona?
right. It's Rota, Spain, which is a naval air station in Rota, Spain, north of Cadiz. We would go down there, downtown Rota, right on the beach. They would have these restaurants that specialized in seafood. Obviously, right there on the sea. They had a swordfish dish
Mm.
that I would like eat all the time. It was so good. So yeah, yeah. It's a beautiful country. Been up to Sevilla.
Oh, I love Sevilla.
Drove, actually, I took a train through Spain, up through Madrid, went through the, what is it, those mountains that are in between.
Pyrenees?
Yes, yes. Went through all of that, Zaragoza, and went through France to Metz because that's where Metz, France is. It's like right on the border of Saarbrücken, nearby Saarbrücken. So that's where my final destination was, and then I had some folks pick me up and pick me up there and bring me back. I had been grounded because I blew my eardrums in a flight.
My
I
God.
flew with a cold. You're not supposed to fly with a cold. I flew with a cold. I couldn't clear
Yeah.
my ears, and so they had to clear it, and they cleared it with an ambu bag. So I had barotrauma in both ears, and I couldn't fly. Yeah, yeah, I couldn't fly. So I had a little trouble going through the mountains, but it was a good experience. Didn't I spoke a little bit of Spanish because that's what I took when I was in school.
Hmm.
So I spoke a little bit of Spanish, a little bit of French, and a little bit of Germany. So it was quite interesting being on the train. I was on a sleep train. So it was interesting because some of the folks didn't speak English. So I had my books, and I'm like trying to like speak, and they just got a kick out of it. They
Yeah.
appreciate that you try, at least trying. And I'm like, you know,
Yeah.
looking like a nerd with my books, but I'm trying to, I'm trying to speak the language, and spent some time in Paris and got into a cab and said, "Hey, I got 5 hours to kill. Let's go. Take me
I love it.
take me everywhere. I'll pay you. Let's go." And he was like, "Yeah, let's do it." And so he took me around and showed me the different things. So I've been to Paris once and got to see like the highlights, kind of like a little bit of a drive through, but I'm like, at least I can say that I've seen the stuff. So, but yeah, that ride up in Spain and France and then crossing over was super cool. So, Europe is there's so many beautiful countries.
Mhm.
Portugal's gorgeous. I've been to Belgium, Netherlands, I have not been to like Austria. I have been to Austria. I haven't been to the Czech Republic or Croatia or any of those areas. So I would
So,
like to do
what?
that eventually. Been to Crete, been to Rhodes, been to I don't think I've been to any of those other Greek islands, but those Sicily, Corsica, Sardinia.
Oh, yeah.
So lots of cool places over there in Europe. I'm like, oh gosh, I bet you it's
Sounds like you need to
beautiful.
go back.
I know.
You
I'm
should do
thinking
year
that you need to
trip,
keep in
2020.
touch and let me know. Let me know when you do a retreat because I'm like,
Okay.
man, that's an excuse for me to maybe go abroad for a little bit and hang
I've been
out.
to northern Italy, like Südtirol, which is like,
Yeah.
it's really
Yeah.
interesting because it's part of Italy, but it used to be part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, so they speak German and Italian. And
Uh-huh.
it's so interesting because they have, cuisine-wise, they have kind of both. So they have like a
Hmm.
schnitzel and everything with like wine and also pizza. So like, and
Yeah.
it's interesting to me to have people switch from Italian to German and watch their personality change, because whatever language you speak, the culture comes out as well. So I just find it
Absolutely.
so interesting.
Yeah. The whole thing with the food, right? So like in Germany, you have Italians that live in Germany, and
Yes.
like you can get authentic food like from all different kinds of cultures in Germany that I think is even more authentic than it is, say, in New York City or uh, I don't know. I'm hoping that America gets its vibe back, and we because I see that there's a lot of shortcutting, obviously, because
Hmm.
of what's going on with food and all of that. And so I'm hoping that we can get back on track with that because food is like the one thing I could say about being in Europe is people just they bond over food, right? When they
Hmm.
sit down to eat, it's like it's a hours deal, right? Multiple hours. Like sit down and just and I think most Americans are so used to just eating, like hurry up and eat
Hmm.
and get it moving, that everything's fast and fast paced. That I think that's one thing I appreciated about being in Europe and living in Germany for 2 years. That everything is kind of slow. It's like
Hmm.
paced, and you really sit and talk with the people that you're eating with, and you just have such a great
Yeah.
time. So I
Yeah, I
love
love that
that.
aspect. Like dinner is 3 hours. Like you don't go to
Yeah.
dinner for like 45 minutes. Like that's a lunch.
No.
Because for lunch you have an hour. So yeah, 45 minutes for lunch. But for dinner,
Yeah.
you would never invite your friends out and be like, "Oh, we're going from like 6 to 7."
No,
They would be
yeah.
like,
No, what?
"Okay,
What are you
you would go
talking
from six
about?
to seven. We're gonna stay afterwards for dessert and drinks."
Yeah, we're gonna sit and we're gonna talk, and it's one thing I loved about that. Like it's not a rush. It's like you're just sitting there and everyone's talking, and I like that, the community and
Hmm.
all of that. I love that about living in Europe.
I love that as
So
well.
much fun. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, bonding over
Oh,
food.
yeah. So if someone resonated with you on today's podcast and they want to get a hold of you, maybe start working with you, find out a little bit more about you, why don't we share where you can be found on social media, and then also your website, and if you have any books,
Hmm.
anything that you'd like to give a shout out to let the listeners know.
Sure. So I have my new ebook on Amazon called Heartbreak to Healing, EFT Tapping to Heal a Broken Heart. So the paperback and the hardcover are still coming out in a few weeks. I think probably another 6 weeks. But the ebook is up there, like on Kindle. So you can get it right now if you're going through a breakup and you're just like, I don't even understand how EFT could possibly help me. Let's check it out. It's only like $4.99 or something like that. It's a good place to
Cool.
start.
Yeah.
And then also, I mean, my website is www.dreahunt.com, which is DREAHUNT.com. And then I'm all over social media as Living Deliberately Today and Heartbreak to Healing Andrea Hunt. So, like, my Instagram is at living.deliberately.today. And
I
it's
love that.
the idea of, yeah, with intention, moving through healing, coming out on the other side. And just always remembering that, like, we're always moving forward. We don't have to stay stuck, even if it's just a little step forward, even if it's just, whatever that representation, that milestone needs to be for you to figure out how to move forward. That's the living deliberately today part. And so, yeah.
So listeners, just FYI, I will make sure that I put all her links in the podcast description, so you'll have all of that information, whether you're listening to this on Spotify or you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts or on YouTube. If you go to the podcast description, always I'm going to have the information on how you can find out more about and guests in the future. I like to say it over and over because people are like, where's that information? And so how do I get it? I had someone reach out to me on Facebook and was like, how can I get a hold of that guy? And so even if you can't find it for whatever reason, you can always reach out to me and I'll send that information over to you. You've said a lot of great things here and talked about EFT and your journey and all of that. And so I thank you so much for being on. Is there anything else that you would like One thing I want to talk about real quick, it
Sure.
just came to me. Because you've mentioned it several times in the course of our conversation about intention.
Hmm.
So give
Absolutely.
us your perspective about the importance of intention.
I think for me, it means that, like, I noticed that in the past when I was going through my breakup, if I did not purposely, deliberately, like, tried to find a piece of joy in my day, whether it was just sitting there for 5 seconds and being grateful for my cup of coffee, something simple. Without that intention, I think it's very easy for us to stay stuck, and to kind of sit and, like, not to say that, like, there is an aspect of we need to sit in it and feel the feelings and stuff like that, and it shouldn't only be like action, 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 but the intention behind what we're doing is so important. And so I think it's always important to know, like, what is the intention behind what you're doing, and especially when it comes to healing, understanding what you need, understanding what you need to talk about, being honest with yourself, being open and vulnerable, I think is really important. And you know what? Sorry, I wanted to follow up on one other thing that you were talking about for getting in touch with me. If any of this resonates with your listeners, I have workshops all the time. So it's a really good way to just be like, maybe this could help me. And I will try it out. And then you can kind of get to know me and see how my program works and how things are structured. And if EFT tapping and heartbreak to healing could be helpful for you.
So they could go to your website to see when you're having your next workshop. Okay,
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
that's awesome. And maybe I'll get on there and share it myself, or I'll figure it out afterwards. I can also share that information, like on my stories. I get a lot of folks that see my stories, maybe not so much my posts, but the stories. So that's something that I can share on the stories.
And my last
Ara,
one,
yeah,
sorry, you
yeah,
want
yeah,
one
yeah,
last thing? So
sure.
I have Heartbreak to Healing book, EFT tapping to mend a broken heart, and my upcoming one is called Wander Woman, and it's about solo travel after a breakup, how you can find empowerment and heal through getting out into the world by yourself to find yourself again and remember who you are. And that one is
God,
not
that's
quite done
amazing.
yet, but yeah. So those are the um, two core pieces of my teaching.
This is awesome. Congratulations on the books. That's amazing. I'm currently working on mine. I'm like, okay, it's time. Like, let's
Yeah,
go. Let's go, sister. Get it together.
yeah, yeah.
But
I was a project for.
yeah,
I'm not even go into how many years, but yeah, it's like.
yeah, yeah. It is a project. It's quite a project because it's like you want to say enough, but you don't want to say it all because it's like you want to, the whole point is to do a book, maybe do another book, like,
Mhm.
and being able to kind of build upon. So and I think if it's your first book, at least for me, I am speaking from my experience that, you know, during this journey, I've had to work through those self-limiting beliefs too,
Mhm.
right? Where the ego likes to tell you, oh, nobody cares what you got to say. And it's like, sit down. People do. And people want to hear other people. And I think we're getting into a time, Andrea, where communicating people are starting to communicate what their thoughts, their wants, their needs, their I see the shift, and so I'm so optimistic about it, and I'm optimistic that we're headed in the right direction, and so
I think it's about
so
authenticity.
harnessing that shift, that's what this podcast is about, is really that, like, harnessing all of that, harnessing the shift in consciousness and the shift in mindset and the shift in culture, right? Our society, right? This shift of, there's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of fear behind AI. There's a lot of
Hmm.
fear, period. So being able to turn that into power, and I think when we understand and we ask questions and we can clear up things and gain clarity, we kind of can take fear by it and do what you got to do and move through it without debilitating us.
And I think people are looking for that realness, that authenticity now, because
Yeah.
I think we had, like, I mean, especially with AI. I mean, like, before, I feel like we had this little era where it was very, I don't know, influencer driven, and isn't everything
Yeah.
awesome? And I think people have really disconnected from that superficial kind of presentation. Like people are not interested in that anymore. They want they want to
Right.
connect with real people having a real problem in a real world. That like how can we all get through this together instead of like,
Right.
okay, your life is
Your
fantastic.
life is
You're a
perfect.
millionaire. You do
Great.
ice
Well,
baths every day at 4 a.m.
yeah. I think well, it's wild that you say that because one of the guests I had, we recorded over the weekend, and she was talking about TikTok and how TikTok has become, you just show up. If you just rolled out of bed, you can show up on TikTok, and it doesn't have to be this polished, presented,
Hmm. Hmm.
perfect thing that we're not polished and we're not perfect. And this whole illusion of, oh, my life is great, but it's really not. And it's this performance, right? And people are tired of it.
Hmm.
We don't need to perform. It's like, if I resonate with you, and I think I could learn from you, and we're vibing, and I've thoroughly enjoyed this, by the way, having you on. This has been a
Thank
great
you.
conversation. It just, I don't know, it just takes me back. When you're there, I'm like, oh man. And you can access those memories. It's pretty cool. And so I've enjoyed this talk that we've had. But it's like, people want real.
Hmm.
People don't want polish. I fumble over my words all the time. It is what it is. I'm human. And I'm getting more and more to the point where I'm like, I just don't even care. I don't even give a shit. Like, it is what it is. Like, I'm showing up, coming out. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. Now I can learn from each podcast, right? Because I do the whole editing. I'm a one woman show over here, right? For now. Hopefully in the future we'll get some help. But um, I watch the podcast back, and I can look at the podcast and not pick myself apart. I used to pick myself apart,
Hmm.
but I can look at it now where I'm not picking myself apart, but that I'm like, okay, what can I learn from this? And uh, I think maybe in some of the other podcasts, I was kind of feeling like it had to have some sort of structure. And I think structure is a good thing because I want folks to know about what it is that you do. But at the same time, I think there needs to be a flow of conversation. And, maybe we don't talk about EFT. Maybe we talk about Germany and what goes on in Germany and hiking and things like that, because it all comes together, right? In the grand scheme of things. I
Yeah.
mean, I talk about mindfulness, and mindfulness changed my life. Being present changed my life. And so it's something I'm so passionate about, because it's important. If you're present in the mind, even in a conflict, you can say, nope, don't you dare go there. Like,
Yeah.
because sometimes we want to say
Yeah.
something, and then it's like, but is it going
React
to
instead of
land?
respond.
Is it going to land? And then that's what I ask myself in the moment. Watch it. Is this going to land? If you say what you want to say, is it going to land? And so, because I've been one of those, I'm a straight shooter. I call it like
Hmm.
it is. And that's caused me to be very misunderstood in life. It's caused me to be labeled as this, that, or that, because people aren't used to that. People aren't used to uh, the truth. I
You'd
think
be
when you
fine in
speak,
Germany.
yeah, right. Well, yeah, I know. The Germans are like, woo, yeah.
They're like, let me tell
They're
you what I
like,
have to say.
let's go, let me tell ya. Yeah. I fit right in over there, man. But
They really appreciate directness and transparency, and sometimes
yes,
I think it's really helpful because you're not going around the point. You just tell me, what are you trying to tell me?
yeah, just like, there's no sense in that. It's like, and I think we've we've gotten to a point here in America where people get a little offended with the truth, and it's like, you tend to be misunderstood if that's the way you roll. And not that I don't have a problem being misunderstood, because, like, if you want me to clarify, I'll gladly clarify. But yeah, it's a cool thing to be able to just hang out with folks like you. I mean, look at this. You're in Munich, Germany.
Yep.
I'm over here in the Pacific Northwest. How many miles is that? That's a lot of miles. And we can sit down and have a chat. So I hope that I hope that you want to come on in the future. We would definitely have you
Absolutely.
back and talk about, maybe we just talk about a specific, have a workshop, whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm open to anything and all of that. So thank you so much for coming on. It's been such
Thank you.
a good time. And trying to think, Wiener Schnitzel. Go have some Wiener Schnitzel
Good
for
stuff.
me. It's so good.
It is.
German food, like authentic German food. And I'm German, so I'm a little, I'm a
I'm a little
little
biased, but like,
biased. I am part German. Part German, got a little bit of Irish and a little bit of Swedish, but yeah, I love German. German food is good. It's good stuff.
Bavarian food, though, like it's very
Bavarian food is,
like it's
it
so
is so good.
like delicious.
So good. Such a beautiful area that you're in. So glad that you're getting out and you're seeing it, and you're just immersing yourself in the culture, because it's a beautiful country. So much to do there. So I'm hoping maybe someday we'll get back there soon. It
Absolutely.
would be great.
Always
It
use
would be
the
great.
Google flight trackers, like that's what I do for stuff. I'll
Yeah.
just put like, from Munich to Rome or whatever, month of May, whatever, and then it just sends it when you
Yeah.
sorry, when the flights
Remind me.
go down.
Remind me, when's the best time to come over there?
I'd say usually June.
That's what I
Like,
thought.
so July can go either way, but I would avoid in general Europe in July and August. It's all the schools are out
Hmm.
everywhere in Europe, and so it's way more expensive and crowded.
Hmm.
September is really nice. September is dry. It's the best hiking weather. Not very much rain. Oktoberfest is there.
Love Oktoberfest.
Oktoberfest is usually like 18, 19 September until October 2nd or something.
Yeah.
That's always fun. Just my only recommendation is if you ever do Oktoberfest, book your hotel first in advance. Just like
Yes.
make sure you got that. Because you can always plan around that. I don't know, even fly into Paris and take a train over, whatever. But your hotel, that's going to be the, the ugly cost that you have.
The question: do they? Because I don't recall when I was there. I don't recall like seeing RVs. But do they do RVs? Like, can you rent RVs over there?
Do you mean to camp for Oktoberfest?
Like, just if you wanted to get an RV and drive through Europe.
Not like RV, like big ones. I mean, that would be astronomically expensive
Yeah.
with the
Yeah.
gas. I mean, because like a liter is like 1.99 right now, and there's
Yeah.
almost four
Yeah.
year liters in a gallon. But
Yeah.
they do camper vans and stuff like that.
Yeah. So like a camper van. So they
That's
have things like
way more
that.
common. Yeah, you can do camper vans,
Cool. That's good
especially
to
since the
know.
pandemic. Like, yeah, people did that all over the place. I mean, and they have campgrounds. Like, even you can drive from Germany down to Croatia, Italy, whatever, and they have spots even on the beach where you can camp.
Good to know,
Good to
because
know.
that would be something that I would love to do, is the camper vans.
Hmm.
I just think that's like you're in, I mean, it's a little
Yeah,
bit on the glam, it's more glamping. It's not, in a tent, which, look, I haven't done the tent thing in a
yeah,
long time, and I'm
I
not
haven't
trying to
either.
do that at this point in my age, in my life, and at this age,
My
okay?
back doesn't want to sleep on the couch
No.
anymore.
No, I want to be on a fluffy mattress and have my own little space. So yeah, the camper van thing would be really cool. That would be really cool. So who knows? Maybe we'll take this thing on the road. You never know.
Yeah, there
Because
you
I
go.
can bring my mic and all that stuff with me, and run it out of there. So that's always an
Absolutely.
option.
You can record
Yeah.
it, YouTube, and stream, and
Yeah, European tour. Harness the Shift, a European tour.
I
Yeah,
love it.
love that. I love that concept. All right, dear. Well, let's anything else you want to say? Anything that's coming to mind that you want to share with the
No, I think that's it. I mean, like, just follow me on social media. I always talk about what I have coming up. That's the best way to see what I'm doing because I'm always doing new stuff and always, trying to help more people. So
Yeah,
just
absolutely. It is one thing I want to ask you. If someone is sitting and they're like, I really want to get a coach, but they're like, they're ruminating about it. and they're trying to decide, what is your best advice for that person?
I mean,
Yeah. Like, say they're just like, I'm wondering if this would work for me, or, like coaching, and then maybe even the EFT thing. Like, if they're just kind of ruminating about it, I
workshops,
find that some people, yeah, workshop.
best way
Yeah.
to try it, because then you can also kind of connect with the coach, see like, if I vibe with this person, is this somebody that I would like to work with?
Yeah.
Because I mean, usually you can figure out the person's story and their level of expertise and like their methodology, like what is it that you feel that they could offer you. And so like I have lots of workshops where people are just like, you know what, I'm going through a breakup and I just wanted to try this. And actually this is amazing. They're like, I'm admitted, like I think EFT looks funny, but I wanted to try it because I didn't know anything else that would help me at the moment.
I love that. Yeah.
And I think especially when we're in that time, I mean, I know that for me, I was just like, I don't know, I have to figure out something. Like I have to figure out, so I just can't go through this like this. This is terrible.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I need to figure something out. So I need to, and so that's how I told you I did like the little group, and that was so incredibly healing and helpful. And I wish that in other breakups I had had that kind of resource, because that would have been really helpful.
Yeah. Sometimes it just comes to a point you have to help yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Like when we just sit and we don't take action. I mean, taking action is take the first step, right?
Mm-hmm.
So workshops, that makes sense. Get in, see how you vibe, and see you in action, and I think that's a good idea. So thank you for mentioning that.
Plus, you connect with others that are also going through a
Yeah,
similar situation, which is so important, because I think so many times part of the breakup, like what feels so awful about it, is that after, like, okay, everybody's there for you like the first month, and like the second month, like nobody wants to hear about it anymore.
yeah, yeah,
You've been like you've exhausted your friends' patience. I mean, it's not fair either. Your friends are not your therapist. You can't
right.
dump it all over them, and you have to figure out, okay, how can I get the support that I need, in a community, instead of putting all of that on people around me. And that's why I think it's helpful, because I mean, being around those people who were total strangers up until that point, and being able to really connect and be vulnerable and cry and be angry and really be able to share what I was going through and have them completely understood, was so helpful for me in that moment. And I think that we need that, because I think otherwise we can tend to isolate, which is never helpful. I mean, like, we kind of retreat, and then we're not reaching for help, and we're maybe being self-destructive, not doing healthy things, not eating or drinking too much, or like whatever it is, working ourselves out, workaholism, to just distract ourselves, or just making other unhelpful choices, and that's why it's
Yeah,
good to have people who are with you during that every step of the way, to like keep each other in check. Like, okay, nope, you're not going to text him. You're not.
yeah. Stay off the phone. I'm your lifeline. Call me if you need
Exactly.
talk off the cliff. Yeah, I think that's a good thing. And I think
Absolutely.
the workshops also with the build a sense of community too.
Yeah, I have friends that, like, literally I met in workshops 10 years ago, and like we're still in touch, because we had one weekend together where like
Yeah,
we really
yeah.
connected, and you're like, oh my God, we're like the same person.
Right, yeah. It's good. It's good. Well, thank you, Andrea. I have had such a good time. I
Thank you so
appreciate you
much.
coming on, and thank you for coming on Harness the Shift, and continue to harness the shift, because it's it's pretty amazing to see. I feel like people are waking up and saying, you know what, enough is enough, and I want to start healing, and I see it every day. So it's a beautiful thing, and thank you for your service to humanity.
Well, thank you so much for your kind words.
It
Thank
really
you.
is. Your service, it's meaningful, and I just want you to know that.
Thank you so much. I
You're
appreciate that.
welcome. Thank you so much. Well, folks, this has been Harness the Shift. Thank you so much for dialing in and listening to my chat with Andrea. And until next time, keep harnessing the
Well,
shift.
that's a wrap.
Thank you to our guest today. And if you would like to learn more about their work, all their links will be located in the podcast description. A quick shout out to our sponsor, LifeWave. I am a brand partner. These patches support energy, recovery, and overall wellness. And you can find out more about them under the central link in my bio, the Hoobie link, HOO.B/harness the shift with Jay. All my offerings, including my coaching program when it's released, plus my contact information and social media links are also available there, as well as in the podcast description. Thanks again for listening. I am Jay. I'll see you next episode on Harness the Shift.